Hello, Richmond High School students and staff. President's Day is a federal holiday celebrated on the third Monday in February. Originally established in 1885 in recognition of President George Washington, the holiday became popularly known as President's Day after it was moved as part of the 1971's Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which was an attempt to create more three-day weekends for our nation's workers. President's Day is traditionally viewed as a time of patriotic celebration and remembrance. While several states still have individual holidays honoring the birthdays of Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and other figures, President's Day is now popularly viewed as a day to celebrate all U.S. presidents, past and present. Of note here, George Washington, one of our most beloved founding fathers, left us many lessons that still ring true 220 years after he left office. Among those are, and I quote, "Observe good faith and justice towards all nations and cultivate peace and harmony with all." I am pleased to have our radio TV class present our President's Day program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whoopi. As we begin our program, I would like to share the words of John Quincy Adams, who inspired us to be leaders. He said, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." Next, Preston Hunter continues our observance of Black History Month with a look at African Americans in the presidency.
We all know that the first black U.S. president was Barack Obama, elected in 2008. Then in 2020, we elected our first black vice president in Kamala Harris. But did you know that these were not the first African Americans to run for those offices? Believe it or not, the first African American to run for president was Frederick Douglass, who in 1848 tried to earn his party's nomination to run for president. That makes him the first ever black presidential candidate, even though he would not earn the nomination. And later on, Douglass would become the first vice presidential candidate running with Victoria Woodhull for the Equal Rights Party in 1872. The first actual black candidate to run in the presidential election and receive votes was George Edwin Taylor, who in 1904 was the nominee of the National Liberty Party. But by far the most successful African American candidate other than Barack Obama was Lenora Fulani. She served as the nominee for the New Alliance Party in 1988. Fulani won well over 200,000 votes, being the highest vote total of any black candidate before Barack Obama won in 2008. In all, there have been over 40 black presidential candidates that have received votes in the election, showing that the race for the presidency has been a big part of black history.
While the President of the United States is often called the leader of the free world, Mason Burns explains what power the President actually has.
While the President is the leader of our country, remember our founding fathers set up our government to be a system of checks and balances to ensure one person would be too powerful. So here are some of the things the President can and cannot do. The President can represent our country in talks with other countries, make treaties with other governments, although they must also get approval from the Senate, sign or veto any legislation passed by Congress, act as a commander-in-chief overseeing all of our military, act as the leader of his political party, grant pardons and commute sentences, appoint ambassadors to foreign countries, nominate federal judges, Supreme Court justices, and cabinet heads. What they cannot do: make laws, declare war, appropriate money for the budget, be president for more than 2 terms, change the Constitution, which can only be done by the states and Congress, and shut down the government. Only Congress has the power to do this.
Our country has had its share of eccentric and sometimes entertaining presidents. Jason Huntworth takes a look at a few.
Lyndon B. Johnson was our 47th president, was known for the coarse language and screaming, but it was another president, Andrew Jackson, who taught his pet parrot to scream. It was so bad that the parrot, which was brought to Jackson's funeral, had to be removed because it started squealing loudly during the service. Speaking of pets, some of our presidents kept some rather unusual pets. Calvin Coolidge may have the largest collection, which included a donkey, a bobcat, and a pair of African lions who were a gift from South Africa. And yes, Coolidge kept the lions with him at the White House. Not to be outdone, Teddy Roosevelt had an unusual pet. It was a black bear. He named the black bear Jonathan Edwards. And one of our presidents had an unusual fear. Benjamin Harrison was afraid of electricity. Although Harrison was the first president to have the White House wired with electricity and electric lights, he was so afraid of it that he would not touch the switches himself, fearing that he could be electrocuted.
And it's also interesting to note that while President's Day is a national holiday, as Drayton Holthouse tells us, not everyone in Indiana gets the holiday off in February.
Unlike many national holidays in Indiana, President's Day is not counted as a state holiday, so all state offices stay open on the third Monday in February. That's the day the federal government observes President's Day. In 1972, Indiana enacted a law stating that the governor can move the observance of state holidays to any day of the year. Since 1947, Indiana has observed Washington's birthday on Christmas Eve Day and Lincoln's birthday on the day before Thanksgiving. But don't worry, we still have a 3-day weekend because President's Day is still a federal holiday and is observed by local and county governments on the same day. That means that local government and federal offices will be closed on Monday, while state offices will be open. They'll get their day off later this year.
As we close, I want to share another quote, this time from Lyndon B. Johnson, and it speaks to our future, which we control. He said, "Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose."